Hello and welcome to the Interior Design Business. My name is Jeff Hayward and I'm here with my co-host Susie Rumbold, past president of the British Institute of Interior Design and creative director of Tessuto Interiors and past president of the British Institute of Interior Design, to talk pop-ups and Decorex in the lovely and comfortable surroundings of the Sofas and Stuff showroom on the King's Road in Chelsea.
As designers, we ignore the power of the pop-up at our peril. What better way to showcase our skills to a wide audience than through a here today, gone tomorrow tour de force? The colossal success of events like Wow House demonstrate the way the pop-up has evolved from simple trade show stands to sophisticated, targeted and effective marketing tools. But how do these small design miracles occur? Are they worth the time and expense that goes into them? And have we reached the pinnacle of the pop-up, or is there still more that can be achieved? Welcome to the Interior Design Business.
So, to talk pop-ups, we are joined by two designers who are both creating temporary installations for Decorex 2025. Tolù Adẹ from Adẹ and Company, and Lucy Mayers from Sibyl Colefax and John Fowler. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Before we begin, could each of you just give us a brief introduction to yourself and your businesses? Tolù, would you like to go first?
Thank you. I'm Tolù Adẹ. I run a studio called Adẹ & Co. We're based in North Greenwich in South London, but work internationally on hospitality projects mostly. We do a lot of food and beverage design, and once in a while, when it's not too painful, we do residential design.
And Lucy?
So I'm with Sibyl Colefax and John Fowler, who you probably have heard of. And I have been with them for 13 years, working under Emma Burns and slowly taking on a few projects myself, and have just come back from maternity leave, and this is my first post-maternity leave project.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, in your view, what does make a really good pop-up in today's market?
I think it's about doing something that is as transformative as possible. So I think storytelling is key. I think you want that sort of immersive moment. You go in, everything's different, it's memorable, it's maybe something you haven't seen before.
So the down the rabbit hole type.
Exactly.
Yes.
A bit of whimsy, a lot of fun. Nothing that takes itself too seriously, I'd say. Personally, I would add colour and a bit of joy.
Yeah.
Joy. Good. And same for you, Tolù?
Yeah, I think, every project should be exciting and every project should have that element of storytelling, and that's the approach the studio takes. I guess with pop-ups, I see it more as an art form and an opportunity to be able to create something that you would have imagined, but, whether the client or your normal kind of day-to-day wouldn't just allow you to do. Often as interior designers, it's our responsibility to firstly make sure that spaces are functional, spaces are to a brief. And rarely do we get the opportunity sometimes just to overly imagine and just overly dream. And pop-ups and exhibitions are a great way to demonstrate your artistic form and demonstrate how you can create spaces that are not only imaginative, but that kind of play with the different senses.
So what would you say then are the kind of key design elements that allow you to transform a temporary space into something that's really memorable?
I would say firstly it's about starting with the location. Looking at the history of the location is always a great clue on thinking of how can you either bring back something from the past into the present, or you can take something from the present into the future. In addition to that, looking at, how do you play with, the sense of touch, the sense of, scent, what you smell, playing with other senses like, what you're hearing. I think all of this starts to allow you to create a space that's really unique and starts to kind of point towards a narrative. For Decorex this year, we're working on the VIP lounge, which is quite an enormous space, and we've tried our very best to split the space into smaller rooms to give guests an experience where they can almost add this idea of exploring the different rooms, and using all of those elements of touch, using lighting, using sound. We are creating something that would hopefully make people feel very uplifted and inspired.
So it's truly immersive by the sound of things.
Yes.
And Lucy?
Yeah, as you say, starting with location. So we were dealing with the practicality of a enormous space, so 13 by 19 meters in the very center of.
So just to be clear, so you're doing the VIP lounge and...
I'm doing the main bar.
Ah, right, got it.
And you have these enormous ceiling heights to deal with. So I started with the kind of focusing on how on earth, because to me bars are intimate spaces that you sort of feel held in, how you could bring that space in. And I went for dinner once in a warehouse near Greenwich, actually, an artist's studio. And he had set up his living room within a parachute and dining room. And it was a beautiful old military parachute, enormous, and lit the whole thing inside. And it was brilliant. It was so good. And so I wanted to do that, but the parachutes weren't quite big enough. And so we are doing a big silk tented ceiling that also hopefully allows everybody to orientate themselves within the space and gives a sort of meeting point that sort of floats above the stands, but also hopefully diffuses the light as well, because it's that shade of pink that one used to line lampshades with in boudoirs to give yourself a attractive face. So there's sort of, that to kind of enclose. And then we went down the narrative of that liminal indoor-outdoor as well, because you do have this huge glass ceiling. It's slightly like being in a orangery. So we went down the idea of doing a garden, but an autumnal garden, with all of those richer, darker colours, smells, and I'll have to get a candle now.
Yeah.
So it's a sensory experience too?
Is it a sensory experience? I mean, everything is a sensory experience, of course. We aren't splitting the space into smaller areas. You've put the bar in the middle so that people can orientate themselves around it, because we're seating 90 people, something like that.
I was going to ask Tolù to dive a bit deeper into what you're doing. What can you reveal? I appreciate we're some way off, but what can you tease us with that people will expect?
Okay, so our VIP lounge is named Palomino, and for us, everything is about trying to really imagine. And when we started the project, we just didn't know what to start off with. So we looked at Olympia, which is where Decorex has been at. We looked at the various different events that took place, and we landed on two things, and it started to just inspire the people in the studio. So we started with the first show, which was called the Paris Hippodrome. And this was like a Olympic / kind of event where there were there were like loads of people with horses, and later on there was a man called Bertram Miles, and he reinvented, he converted the Olympia into like this circus destination. And this destination was like not just normal circus kind of event, but it was really elaborate, really kind of ornate. And in fact, members of the royal family used to attend it, and we've actually looked at archives and seen members of the royal family. And this just we just automatically started to join these two together and think, okay, well, what if, we looked at, where, Paris Hippodrome and that, and looked at, the circus element of how Bertram Miles, kind of evolved the circusy. So from that, we started to put together elements on those 2 periods of time, those architectural features, to start to kind of, to kind of inform what would be the what would be the kind of cornices, what would be all the architectural elements. And for us, it's really important when creating a temporary space to give this make-believe that it's always existed. You can't necessarily create it and everybody knows, okay, it's just a pop-up. You almost need to walk into, oh my gosh, this has been there for a really long time, even though of course that's not the case. And we've then collaborated with a range of amazing suppliers. So we're working with artisans in Glasgow, artisans in Milan, artisans in Paris, and some artisans in London. So to the facade, you'd expect to see this amazing mural hand painted by a gentleman called Will Fuster, and he's got a studio called Will Fuster Studios. And I work with him a lot on when I'm doing a scheme, I would often say we need a paint color. The paint color hasn't existed yet. Just let's create one. Or what, we're looking at this particular area, and it needs to be special. These are the palettes, and let's create something. So Will's really good for that. And the name Palomino actually comes because the type of shade of
horse.
Of horse that horse is the shade of the horse is the shade of the colors that we're using all throughout. So
I love this. I love it too.
Storytelling. It's fantastic.
And that's it. But in terms of like what you can expect as your original question, you walk in, you have a very circular central point, and that's paying homage to the kind of circus theme. You have a great kind of installation lighting structure in the center, and then you've got these smaller rooms which would be lounges and spaces to eat or to drink or to meet, but what's really interesting is that every room is in collaboration with a different company. So we're working with Pierre Frere, Dada, Liliev, and Casamates, and a range of others for fabrics, and we're working with a range of talented artisans to make furniture. So it's been a lot of layering of things to create the space. So just expect to be wild, expect to be to be transformed into something totally unexpected.
Sounds fantastic.
And then we're working with Joe Malone, and we've created a mixture of senses, especially for the space, and you could expect to just the room to be scented and 24/7.
Wonderful.
Incredible. So Lucy, can you describe your vision for the Champagne Bar and maybe talk to us about some of the people that have helped and contributed to it?
So yes, as we've discussed, the idea originally came through this sort of autumnal garden, the liminal space, the idea of a tented space being somewhere that, one holds fetes and festivals and you can have a party. I actually went, instead of this has always been there, to this is here for 4 days, but it's transformative. So we've been helped a lot by furniture makers in Edinburgh, Clockhouse Furniture, wonderful, using a lot of the suppliers who have stands at Decorex. So Matthew Bray and Matthew Collins, who we work with all of the time, who are skilled specialist painters and just, brilliant artisans. They also have a joinery department, which is lesser known and fabulous, and they are helping me with the screens that we are making for the corners of each of the tent, each corner of the tent rather, which originally I had wanted to be sort of mashrabia screens to kind of help enclose the space. Budgetary issues are always a consideration in something like this, and apparently laser cutting mashrabia is a cost that no one can stretch to, which is fair enough. So we're using our own fabrics to line panels. I just wanted to bring the outside in and make this sort of garden.
So it sounds as though they're going to be two quite diverse experiences for people visiting the show. I'm so excited, really.
And it fascinates me when you talk about budgets, because I imagine the amount of creativity, time, as well as budget that goes into these kind of pop-ups is quite staggering. Am I right? And if so, are these the biggest challenges you face, or are there others that I'm not even thinking about?
It's interesting, to be fair. It's been quite good with Decorex this year. I think we've had a good amount of time to come up with a concept. We've previously done Warehouse last year. And that was altogether 12 weeks from absolute starting to end.
That's why they call it warehouse.
Yeah. And that included everything bespoke. So like from bespoke flooring to bespoke rugs to every single piece of furniture being bespoke. So we really rely on like our connections. I worked in the industry for almost 2 decades now, and I don't look it. So which is really good. And if I say so myself, sorry. But what that does is that really allows us to really work with people who they know my standards, they know what I'm expecting, and we are just constantly working on the project. Now with this at Decorex, we've had like I think from January this year to kind of work on it, which has been quite good. The problem actually is when you've got longer time, there's so much more deliberation that you're doing. It's like, do we choose this level or do we choose this level? And they're both exactly the same color. Right? So that's some of the problems that you do get with having more time, whereas sometimes when you just have like a very short amount of time, you've just got to really trust your instinct. And what's really interesting actually is that with these type of projects, we don't do CGIs in them. We literally only do watercolor or hand sketches in black and white, and everything else is just the imagination of what would it be, because it really reminds me of the art form of what interior design was before we started to have such amazing tools like AI to be able to create things. And yet that's
Amazing. And
Yeah, we started in March, and yeah, it's a lovely lead-in. It's definitely enough time. It's, for me, I would say the biggest challenge has probably been budget and also kind of the ethics of spending a huge amount of money on something that you're going to pull apart in 4 days. So
That's a good point.
yeah.
well, so we could have pushed to have marble tops, for example, but I hate the idea of that being just thrown away at the end once it's broken down. So we've tried to think of ways that everything that we're putting in can then be reused again, and try and make it sort of as sustainable as possible, so that we can justify the cost of it all, but so that we can also justify doing it, and that it's not wasteful.
Has that been something for you as well, Tolù?
Yes, I think that sustainability, to be fair, it's in all of our projects. And with this particular project, the way we typically work is I always try to get the team to think of where things will go after, and how can we produce things where when it's been installed and has been taken off, it doesn't cause damage. So all of our lining, for example, they're all actually made from panels which are Velcro backed, and they're just literally stuck onto the wall without no adhesive, and they're pulled back down to be used for anything else in the future. When it comes to fabrics, we often would reuse the fabrics to do something else, or if we need to, well, sometimes we do donate some of the things we use to another cause. So I definitely agree that everything should be sustainable. But I guess our approach is that we still want the amazing look, but at the same time it's like, where do you fight it? And budget is always a thing. So a great approach is like, for example, we love marbling. We love marble, but obviously having, architraves covered in marble for a 4-day event is absolutely unrealistic. But this is where we use artisans again, and they, is actually
Create the effect without the price tag.
But it's very marble.
It's for marbling.
And how many people from your teams have been involved? Lucy, is it just you? Have you been running this by yourself? Or
It's myself and Allegra over there has been helping me.
yeah, great.
It's mostly been a lot. Well, it's been roughly 5 people in the studio that's kind of started off working on the projects. But we start off like that. Every project, we start off with a kind of majority of us to start off with the initial push of the concept and solidify that. And then it's been myself and Miss Stella, if you're listening, Stella, shout out to you. And yeah, who's an amazing assistant, and she's just been really dedicated, and just, she actually studied psychology. She didn't study interior design, and she's so amazing. So yeah.
So what is it you think that the designers, because you have a designer audience, you're preaching to your own tribe. What are they going to be most excited about to see what you've created, or when they see what you've created?
What's the psychologist saying about the impact
Yeah.
that she wants?
What we try to do always is just to create a sense of environments where it functions quite well on multi-layers. So we worked with a lighting consultant, DPA Lighting, and most of our projects kind of work on a kind of tunable lighting system. So in the daytime, if the lighting is a bit brighter, the Calvins are a bit higher, and as we're getting to the evening of the VIP lounge, it's more relaxing. But also, if you do make it to the VIP party, should you be invited, enjoy it being a wonderful space to kind of chill out and party.
Excellent.
And obviously a bar is a place to drink. So
Yeah.
And a meeting place too.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think you the fact that it'll be visible, so it's going to be, because of the tenting, it will be visible from all over.
Yeah, well, because it's in the very centre of the stands, we had slightly difficult limitations to work with, which is that we're not allowed to block any sight lines. So we can't have walls. And so hence the screens in the corners. So there are no architraves. So it's not really like, the joy of doing something like Warehouse where you have a stand and you have the 4 walls, and it's much more like doing a room. This has been very much how to make a outside space feel enclosed and inviting, and somewhere you want to have a drink.
I mean, I'm excited to see both of these pop-ups and what you've created. I think many designers listening and watching will think, all sounds amazing, but does it really justify, in terms of the long-term value, you getting involved in the first place? I mean, how do you measure? What are you looking for? What's the impact long-term that you're looking for?
I don't know if anyone's ever been able to kind of quantify whether or not from footfall and from the press that these things create, whether or not they're worthwhile doing. I would say they're worthwhile doing because from a design perspective, it's a really radically different way of working to how I normally work. So it's been a wonderful exercise. And why not?
Yeah.
Why not test yourself? Why not do something different? Why not do something fun? And we specialize in residential, high-end residential. So we don't do this sort of thing.
It's out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, completely. That's my motivation.
Okay, what motivates you, Tolù?
Well, I think you can never really quantify, the impacts that such displays and exhibitions, what you get back. But my thinking is always that, number one, it's always good to do something slightly a bit off grid, something that would not only challenge, your way of working, but also allow you to be creative again. I think if we don't watch it, we can be designers that, if you've got a particular type of clientele known for doing that same thing and go along that pattern. And I think, Decorex and other stand designs are great ways of actually, just kind of doing something off grid, doing something that you've always kind of thought about, but you just haven't been able to implement because, whether it's the budget, there is a budget restriction here as well, but whether it's like to do with like, the taste of a particular client. So it's really good for that. And more importantly, I think, when it comes to, kind of awareness, I guess, and just people being aware of the creativity of your studio, it's a wonderful way to display the creativity of your studio, because a lot of people do say storytelling and a lot of people do say they are creative, but one beg to differ. So actually being, able to experience it, see it, and to say the truth is in the pudding and actually taste it, I think that's wonderful.
So it sounds as though it's a really liberating thing to be able to do something that's ephemeral in a way.
Yes, it is incredibly liberating. It's wonderful to be able to research something, find an art form of inspiration, and just put this kind of mismatch of things that doesn't go, but that's why it does go. And I love that approach to design. And yeah.
Part of me always wanted to be a set designer.
Yes.
And some of the best designers that ever existed were set
Best
designers.
Yes.
So it's the chance to flex those muscles.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think we've reached the limits of pop-up design, or is there still more untapped potential?
I think it's growing and growing. I think, you look at Wow House, you look at Kips Bay, every single year they get better.
Yeah.
And people, we're competitive. We are. And it's raising the bar. It's raising the bar over and over again. And and as the bar is raised, more money is put in, the possibilities grow, and I think, the sky is the limit.
Sky's the limit. Excellent.
Okay, so Tolù, what lessons have you learnt from this?
I guess from the previous display that we did last year, what I learned the most was how to really make something quite feel quite permanent, but really be installed really quickly and taken off really, really quickly. And I guess, that's all to do with like planning and logistics and how to make something work very, very quickly. And that's what we kind of brought into the display at Decorex, though it will look amazing and you will kind of have all of these sensory elements met. But, we designed it in a way where it's quite modular in a sense. And, you don't design, permanent spaces very modular. You design them to be there unless the brief is for it to be modular.
Or there's a tiny front door.
Yeah. So I think that's been a really great lesson that we've learned, and how to design, how to make sure things are prepared and designed and built before the stand build date is, and everything is just being installed quickly and just get moving.
I'm looking forward to seeing you at the show to make sure that everything went to plan.
See, actually not going to be this. That's the strange thing. I get there on maybe like 3 days in, but I'm not there for the stress because I don't want that's a chauffeur. So I've got a project manager who would be there.
You're going on holiday that week.
When that was like last year, I was actually unfortunately I had a holiday already planned, and I think this year actually we've got I've got two young kids, and half term falls around about that time, so
Okay.
I made what thought of that.
Well,
Right.
I'll see you at the end of the show to find out whether it worked or not. And what about you, Lucy? Big lessons to book holiday during the show? Or
Yeah,
not?
suddenly think about childcare. Oh gosh. I hadn't thought about half term. Never mind. I mean, I get off on logistics, and that's a lot of the fun for me, and I'm a complete control freak. So the idea that I won't be there cleaning things,
Preposterous.
Knowing looks to the audience.
yeah, exactly, is so it will be some long hours. But I really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, just that making it happen.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think what's going to be interesting is very strange talking about something that isn't in. and saying, oh yes, this is my favourite bit. You're like, I've got absolutely no idea. That might not work at all. I might need to change it completely or fiddle with it, or then actually my favourite thing might be something that
Completely
we sort of,
unexpected.
exactly. And that's always the joy of it as well.
Definitely.
Is the bits that you suddenly go, oh, that really worked. I'm really happy with that. And then,
quieter parts.
yeah, the planting, who knows?
I was looking forward to it.
Good. So, thank you. That was just amazing. I am desperate to see both these installations. I can't tell you how excited I am. It's been so
me too.
wonderful to have you talking about it.
Me too. Thanks so much for joining us today, and look forward to see you at the end of the show and at the start of the show.
See you at the show. See you at the party.
Wonderful, thank you. So before we continue, we would like to do a quick shout out to Natural Mat, the organic bed and mattress company based on the banks of the River Exe in Devon. If you're designing a space where wellness and sustainability matter, then this is a name to know. That's right, Susie, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Their beds and mattresses are handcrafted using natural organic materials, no synthetics, no glues, and zero harmful chemicals. Plus, their organic wool fibres make them naturally fire retardant, so there's no need for chemical sprays.
And they're also the first B Corp certified bed company in the UK. Solar-powered workshop, plastic-free packaging, and a brilliant bed and mattress for life initiative. Refurbish, recycle, or donate so nothing ends up in landfill.
And their showrooms are total design inspiration. Each one features a sleep zone with dim lighting, calming scents, and even a bird song soundtrack recorded in the nature reserve by the Devon Workshop. So it's a sensory experience you and your clients will find inspirational.
So Natural Mat, where sustainability meets sleep beautifully. You can learn more at naturalmat.co.uk or visit them in London, Knutsford, Devon, or in the Cotswolds. They're also going to be at Decorex at London Olympia, which brings us neatly on to our next subject, Susie.
Yes, it does. Many trade shows have come and gone over the years, but the perennial Decorex somehow manages to come up fresh and smiling year after year after year. But what are the ingredients in their winning formula? How do they manage to stay relevant when the industry they serve is in such a state of constant flux? How is a show like Decorex curated? And in the end, is it the loyalty of the exhibitors, the enthusiasm of the audience, or the organisation itself that makes the difference? We're joined now by Sam Fisher of Decorex, Debbie Pocock of QEST, and Ricky Partner from Foot Sofas and Stuff to find out.
So, before we begin, can you all briefly introduce yourselves? Sam, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Sam Fisher, the event director of Decorex. I've worked in sort of interiors exhibitions for 22 years. But Decorex, I think since we bought it, probably 17 years ago.
Long time. And Debbie?
My name's Debbie Pocock. I am the CEO of QEST, which is the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust, and it's a charity that supports training and education of craftspeople. And we are 35 years old this year.
Wonderful. And Ricky?
Rick Partner. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Sofas and Stuff. We are literally today just about to open our 25th showroom in Richmond down the road.
Congratulations.
So we're looking forward to that today.
Now, Sam, what sets Decorex apart from other design trade shows that have come and gone?
I think Decorex obviously is 47 years old this year, which is just slightly older than me. But I think, it's and therefore very established. And, it's had its kind of variations. I think it's obviously grown, just not just in size, but in kind of in stature. I think it's had different locations. It's been in different locations. And I think all the way through, it's really not just a trade show. It's more of a curated experience, we like to call it. And I think, the community it's almost led by the community really, rather than the kind of corporate behind it, I suppose, which is what we wanted it to continue to do ever since we bought it from Ian Thompson 17 years ago. So I think a lot of other trade shows have come and gone, as you say, but I think the fact we've kind of kept it at that luxury high-end level and tried not to dip in any way.
Do you think it's the community then that keeps it fresh?
I think it's a mixture of everything really, but I do think the community is at its core. We wouldn't be nowhere without, the loyal exhibitors that have been with us since the start. and the new ones as well over the years. And I think the visitors, obviously, thousands of them come every year. And I think it's really is built by the community. We would be nowhere without the interior design community and the designers and the brands and stuff that work with us every year. It's just, at its core.
And what about your branding, Decorex?
So our branding has been real variations over the years. I think, I remember doing a photo shoot in the back of Siron House with products and designers. We've done a variety of different things. But in the last few years, we really wanted to bring, as again, I say community, but, artisans and people to give them a platform, really. So the last 4 years, we've asked someone within our Decorex community, I'm going to keep saying community, but I think especially from the Making Spaces element of the show, which I know Dobie is very familiar with, where we get craftspeople and artisans to join us each year. We've asked one of those for the last 2 or 3 years to create a pattern for us for our branding, and most of them, like Nat Max with her marbling. We've had Ellen Merchant last year with flowery branding, and I think this year we've asked Natasha Mann, who was part of Making Spaces over the last couple of years. And when we ask them, we kind of do give them a platform. It's a creative that we use across our website, across all our marketing campaign. It's on our signage at the show. So there's a real journey from the kind of start of them designing it into fruition at the show. And most of them we've asked to kind of take an inspiration from Olympia as well, which is a lot of, as we have from Tolù, kind of the design elements as well across the show. And so Natasha's creative is quite Art Deco feel, actually, which is...
It's Moroccan inspired.
It is Moroccan inspired, thank you. But it's the year of, is it 100 years of Art Deco?
Oh, amazing.
This year. So it's got that kind of feel as well. And it's a really sort of rich colour scape. And I think, as you might have seen already, it's just a really beautiful pattern that hopefully Natasha will get some PR out of as well.
Wonderful. And I'm interested to hear about this curated experience. So tell us more about that. What is curated? What does it mean? And how does it shape the identity of Decorex?
So I think everything in Decorex each year changes. Right, apart from a lot of the exhibitors have their own stand and they have, the same position they may have for a while. Each year, what is in that stand changes. They're launching new products. They have a different design on the stand. And there's so much effort that goes into that as well. But I think we're an application-based show. So we pick and choose who we want to be in that show. We look at the quality, we look at the price point, we look at the craftsmanship and the history of each brand to make sure they're the right fit for Decorex. We can't just have any old brand in there. We do turn people away that aren't the right fit.
Likes that.
We're in bed. But I think, and every year we have different designers. We have that do the bar, the VIP lounge. We have new artisans that are part of Making Spaces. We add different elements to the show each year. When you walk in, we normally have a kind of feature area when you walk in, which makes a huge impact. And I think just ensuring that every year it's fresh and new, and that's what people expect from us, is to be able to come to Decorex and not just have to trawl the stands up and down, which is great, obviously, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have a bit of excitement and a bit of an experience.
Would you say it's the loyalty of the exhibitors or the enthusiasm of the attendees or the strength of the organisation that is most behind its success?
I think all of them, to be honest. I don't think you can have one without the other. Our loyal exhibitors, we wouldn't have a show without them. We have probably, I'd say, 70-75% of loyal exhibitors who come most years. Some of us have been, some of them have been there since the beginning. We try and have sort of the 30% probably fresh new brands each year, just to keep us on our toes, really. But I think, the attendees, the excitement of them coming each year and actually people even, on social media getting excited about it in the lead up to the show. And obviously the organisation is wonderful. But, we have a great team, a great Decorex team. The marketing and operations, operations team we'd be nowhere without. We couldn't build the show. So I think you have to have everything. The different brands, the people wanting to come to the show, the thousands of people that want to come to the show each year, and some level of organisation, kind of makes it all into one great show.
What exactly are the goals of an exhibitor in doing Decorex? It's brand awareness, obviously it's sales, I'm sure, but what are really the core things that you're looking at?
There's a balance, of course, and there's obviously short-term objectives, but for me and Decorex particular, it's about brand awareness. It's about authenticity of our brand and putting it out there a little bit. We featured last year, and we did something quite dramatic for us. We have, you can see on the wall here in our showroom in the King's Road, we have tons of fabrics, a huge variety of fabrics. And last year we decided to focus on just one partnership, which was with the V&A. And you heard earlier on from the IDs that were talking about, how they put together, their spaces, and we definitely approached it in the same way. It was a multi-sensory experience, and it was based on the threads of India, which is from inspired by the Mughal dynasty. So we wanted to make sure that that came across with authenticity, to the period that we were representing, but also that when you came on the stand, you actually you all of your senses came alive. So there was definitely the feel with the fabric. There was the smell. We had, some real authentic incense, etc., to bring that space alive. Ultimately, for us, we need to grow our trade category, and what better way than to do that than at Decorex, and to show who we are and what we do and how well we do it. And I think it's a great platform for that. Last year, we decided to launch our trade program called the Upholstery, for obvious reasons, at the show. And I'm absolutely certain that the reason for the success of the Upholstery this year is because of its platform and that it had at Decorex, and the incredible people that we got to see. And I think from a visitor's point of view, they saw us in a different light. They didn't just see florals, and they didn't just see print. They actually saw the whole, array of what we actually do. And, they felt that we have a lot of design credibility. And I think that's important when you're at Decorex.
How many visitors, how many people do you get through the door over the course of the 4 days?
Generally about 12,000.
Yeah.
So it's a huge number.
Yeah.
And, without being rude, you're not going to get 12,000 people through a showroom door in 4 days. So it is it's a perfect opportunity. Maybe you do.
We've got a showroom manager here today. That's now his brief.
Sorry, no pressure. But it's a perfect opportunity. So you can see so many different people under one roof, really.
Of course. And one thing that you talked about there was just creating a really unforgettable experience, Ricky, which obviously every exhibitor is trying to do at Decorex. So I mean, the brains trust that goes into putting together something new every year must be quite a challenge, isn't it?
It's quite a challenge when you've got so much to say, because it's very easy to say it all, but actually deliver something that doesn't really say anything. So we really have to focus on what we wanted to do that year. You heard a lot earlier about budgets. There is definitely a budget constraint. But last year, we won one of the runners-up spots for the show, and for our stand, on a modest budget, I would say, and so we can stand out on that. But you do have to put some work into what you want to do, and I think what's the point of taking a space if you're not going to maximize that space by showing who you are, what you do, but also to pique interest from others. So yeah, it's important to stand out, but I don't think you can stand out if you try to do something that isn't you.
Yeah, authenticity.
Debbie, how is QEST involved in Decorex?
We've been involved a couple of years, and I think this is the moment where I really want to congratulate Decorex, because they had the vision to bring in individual craftspeople and artisans into the show. Quite a small way, I would say, a couple of years ago. And because QEST is a charity that supports craftspeople, we have 900 alumni, and so we're a rich source of artisans. And some of our we call them scholars. QEST scholars got involved a few years back. But then, Decorex then really embraced the individual artisans and, developed this making spaces, which is, a significant part of Decorex. It's front and central. And I think that really is unique, actually. And they should absolutely be, congratulated. And I think our involvement is because we know a lot of craftspeople, and making spaces is an open call for
So just for some of our listeners that might not be familiar with the making spaces part of Decorex, just explain what it actually is that you're doing there.
Yeah, so it is for individual craftspeople to have a platform, and Sam talked about platforms, which are really important.
So like little mini stands almost.
Yes, absolutely. So it's each of the individual craftspeople are demonstrating and showcasing their particular craft.
Yeah, I saw someone last year doing rush weaving, which was
absolutely
just superb,
the boys from Marchmont workshop up in Scotland. We had Libby Ashdown doing parliamentary tassels, lots, we all know about those. We had ceramicists, we had Natasha Mann that Sam's spoken about. She hand paints in a Moroccan style using handmade pigments. So very individual artisans, mostly individuals, some small businesses, but I think that's the key thing. And they are there demonstrating, highlighting their skills, the importance of hand skills in an interior design world, but really giving them a platform. Platforms are really important to individuals. It's tough for individual craftspeople.
So you've got 12,000 designers come through the door,
Absolutely.
pick up the cards from the boys who are doing the rush weaving, and lo and behold, their business expands exponentially.
Absolutely. And the feedback from, there were 15 last year, there'll be 14 this year. And the feedback from those individuals is, this is the best thing we've ever done. Because it is. You are getting people through the door, whether they're architects, interior designers, specifiers, they're there. And they would not have that platform if it were not for Decorex. So it's really, really important for those individuals.
And that's also really important for the tone of the show, Sam, I would imagine.
Yes, it is. And actually, I just wanted to say that we've had some people from Making Spaces who now come back and have stands. So we call it Making Spaces Next Chapter.
Yeah.
And we had some of the artisans come back next year and join together and buy a stand from us, essentially. So it's a really nice sort of journey that they're on as well.
Ricky, how do exhibitors measure the success of their participation?
Well, I think, as mentioned earlier, we spoke about launching our upholstery program, so our trade membership last year. So that was a very easy way to see how many sign-ups that we had on the day for that. But also then, the relationships that we build with those ideas as you work through the year. We have the upholstery has its own portal. So when you join, you have a membership, and you log it. You have a login to a portal, and it's not a space for us to sell you anything else. It's just a space for us to talk to you much more about the industry that you're in and the design features and all of those things, which we believe that IDs and creatives need that kind, like they need food and air. They need that kind of sustenance on a day to day, and we provide that as well. So, it's about how we sort of nurture those relationships, how many times they come back to us and work on projects with us as well. So that's really important for us. But also, services staff and I personally believe that if we are going to make a dent in our industry, we need to be known and used and recommended by the people that are experts in that industry. And so, the more and more they talk about you, and you can see the effects of that across social media, and even still the old traditional word of mouth, you can see how that is impacting, and so that's definitely a measure. But for me, it's all about brand at the moment. For us, we're on a brand journey, and so we want as many people to see us as possible.
So I'm guessing the return on investment, really, it's a slow burn. It's hard to actually say, do you measure it year 1, year 3, year 5, year 10?
And there's different ways, obviously, to measure it, but again, I think it would say more about us if we wasn't there. That's an important way for us to look at it. So the cost is one thing, but the cost at not being there, I would say is far greater.
So being a Decorex exhibitor, obviously you get the cachet that goes with being part of that curated experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And our brand is there in front of 12,000 people. And I didn't research that. I just heard it. But in front of 12,000 people, that they probably, and if we're totally honest, 2 years ago wouldn't have necessarily known who we are and what we do. But they are starting to now, and platforms like Decorex are providing that opportunity for us.
I mean, it's interesting to hear that experience from the small makers as well up to the bigger brands.
I think the small makers is also a really interesting point for us because, we are craftspeople. We have our own workshop. We make everything in the UK, up in Preston. And, they make everything. Yeah, there's some technology involved, but traditionally they do it all with their hands. They still do that. And so, we are seeing the sort of the pipeline for those craftspeople not drying up, but certainly not as major as they were a few years back. So it's really great to see that people are still doing that. And there's organizations such as QEST and obviously Decorex providing that platform for those people. And it gives us inspiration too, because as a big brand or, a medium-sized brand as we are, delusions of grandeur there, but we take inspiration still from that. It's very easy to get sucked in and do what you do, but actually there's so much more out there. So it's an inspiring. One of my favorite things to do last week was walk around that space.
Yes, and I feel as though I learn a lot when I go and I watch the artisans actually doing their thing, because I'm learning about techniques and I can then tell those stories back to my clients.
I think that's right. And I think people, that's one of it, the feedback I got, isn't it? It's one of the highlights. Exactly right, because it was that sort of engagement that and craftspeople are very passionate individuals, aren't they? And they tell their stories so brilliant. We as I say, we have a support a lot, and when they come to interview, you the quietest person, very nervous, tears, almost the stress of wanting to get funding for their particular training. But once you set them off and you say, what do you do? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go to? They're just like off and running. And it's just so, and yet I think that's what you really get from making spaces. And I love the fact that it's a really eclectic range of crafts, from wood to textiles to, painting. I think we had a straw embroiderer. Hannah Newton was there last year, and I think we've got Carl Fox this year.
Yeah,
marquetry,
real mix.
Yeah, a real mix, and I do think that's important because I think perhaps sometimes that, to pick up your phrase, that interior design community are not necessarily aware of some of these skills. We were talking a little bit about this earlier, is that interior designers, it's great, they do use craftspeople to bring their designs to life, but I always say, and I don't wish to be controversial, but I always say, just be a little bit daring. Use someone that you might not know about. Give a new person who may have been slaving away and practicing their craft for 10 years. And this is what Decorex does for them. It brings them to the fore. Be daring. Use someone new.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I just wonder, Sam, have we covered everything? Is there anything else that you'd like to remind the audience about today?
There's lots more going on.
And there's some pretty great talks going on.
But yeah, I was about to say that. Lots of great talks. My colleague Carly has managed that whole program exceptionally. So I think, we have talks on a lot of business related talks. I think this year we've sort of learnt from past experience. I've got a lot of feedback, which we do every year, about all of the show. But a lot of people just want a bit more business, a bit more real hard hitting talks. So we've got a lot around that. We're actually introducing some roundtables this year as well, for the first time, which will be kind of an opportunity for people to kind of jump around some tables and get little snapshots of various things, maybe marketing or negotiating or things like that. And then obviously making spaces, the wonderful bar and the wonderful VIP lounge. We all can't wait to see. And just, there'll be something quite impactful when you walk in. We've got another area with just sustainability talks. and yeah, a lot more. So
It's a lot.
all very
A lot going on.
A lot going on. Well, can't wait. You're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks to Tolù and Lucy who joined us for the first half of the show, but also Sam, Debbie and Ricky. Thanks so much. It's great to have these insights into what's coming up 2 months away as we speak now, so not far at all.
A real behind-the-scenes peek into the machinations of Decorex and the mechanics of the pop-ups. It's been the most fantastic and informative conversation. Thank you to all. And of course, thank you to Sofas and Stuff who have hosted us today in their beautiful, comfortable, squishy showroom.
Squishy, is that a real?
It's a squishy showroom in the King's Road in Chelsea. It's been amazing, and congratulations on opening your new branch today in Richmond.
Thank you very much. Congrats. And we do hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please do get in touch on our social channels at Interior Design Business Pod to share any feedback. The Interior Design Business is a Wildwood Plus production. Thank you.